Welcome. Last call. WagerTalk last call. Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern live, and we got college football starting here at noon Eastern, exactly 1 hour. So this is truly last call before the start of the college football season 2025. I am Steve Merril, filling in for Ariel Epstein and Kelly Stewart as well. She's over in Ireland watching her beloved Kansas State Wildcats play. We're going to talk a lot about college football. Week 0 is here. Also a little baseball along the way. Hey, maybe some WNBA, golf, whatever else. The Steam Report off the top here. Gianni the Greek, let's get right to it. It's a busy Saturday, to say the least, and we got our first official college football game of the season, and we're going to bring the Greek here in a moment when he is ready. I'm not seeing – yeah, he's back. We're going to start with Jesse Schule. Oh, by the way, Louis is in for Dan Alexander. So we're going to have a little bit of a switcheroo here. Jesse Schule. Let's make it difficult on Louis' first show, Jesse. We'll switch up the order live on WagerTalk TV. Hey, want to talk to you, though, because, look, you've got a take on this Kansas State-Iowa State game. I've got a free play video. Don't want people leaving the show here to watch it, but if they want some insight, they can dabble at it real quick. I did side and total earlier this week on WagerTalk today, so very curious, Jesse, to get your thoughts. You know, I joke about week 0. It's a hell of a matchup. Not only is it a top 20 matchup, two of the front runners in the Big 12. The loser is going to be on the outside looking in, to say the least, because this is a conference game to start the college football season.
Yeah, Steve, it's unfortunate that they move a rivalry game like Farmageddon overseas. I love the Ireland game. Last year's game with Georgia Tech and Florida State was awesome. But a rivalry game like this should probably stay stateside. But it's going to be a great game to watch. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not sure this is one that you want to mortgage the house on, though, especially now with the line movement. I covered all these games, the week 0 games. I had them covered well over a month ago on WagerTalk TV. And at the time, it was 3 and a hook. And my take on it was, listen, this is a rivalry game. These two teams have played close games in the past. We've seen a lot of close games in this Ireland game. And with Iowa State, you know, they were the better team last year. I kind of figured they played over their heads while Kansas State underachieved. I think Kansas State might have the better roster, the higher upside, but Iowa State's got the veteran quarterback in Rocco Becht. They've got a really solid defense. I like the coach. They're a team that they're a tough out, Iowa State. And I know they had lost 2 receivers to the NFL last year. You know, people making a lot of that. I think people might be making too much of that. You know, receivers, I don't know. Can they grab a couple receivers that can fit into the offense? I don't think that's that tough of an ask. I think it's probably more about the quarterback than it is about the receivers. And Kansas State, they didn't have it all locked down on defense last season. We'll see if they've improved. I liked Iowa State getting 3 in the hook. Now that it's 3, I'm not seeing a ton of value on this. If you could still get 3 in a hook, I'd say take Iowa State.
Obviously, 3 is a key number. We talk about this all the time with football. And if you're new to sports betting, I know we do have a lot of new viewers probably this football season. Unlike basketball, where every 1 or 2 points is kind of random, football, 3 and 7 are the key numbers. There's about a 9 to 10% chance K-State could win by exactly 3 points today. So that half point, as Jesse's talking about, is extremely important. Obviously, 7 is very important, 10, 14, 21. In college football, we see sometimes key numbers, and that's why it's so important to shop around. Hey, if you want to try out Odds Logic, oddslogic.com/SM, a free 7-day trial for premium live odds, real-time scores. Might be a good time to do it now with the football season here. oddslogic.com/SM for that free trial. And Jesse, we'll move on maybe to week 1, but any other thoughts on these week 0 games? Anything else jump out to you today?
There's one game that I am kind of interested in. It's Western Kentucky and Sam Houston. And Steve, you're about the same age as me, so you probably remember in the late 80s and early 90s, maybe the 2 coolest guys on TV were named Maverick and MacGyver. And they've got a quarterback named Maverick MacGyver. The 2 coolest guys, you combine that to make one name. They brought him over from Abilene Christian. They also brought his offensive coordinator over to Western Kentucky. And this is a Western Kentucky team that's known for having decent quarterbacks and high-flying offenses. The chat might remember Bailey Zappi a couple years ago throwing for over 6,000 yards at Western Kentucky. You know, write that name down, Maverick MacGyver, because I think by the end of the year, everybody's going to know that name.
Yeah, Western's taking some money. They opened 7.5 earlier this summer. It's now up to that key number of 10, another number I talked about. And as you said, K-State's dropped from 3.5 to 3. We look at the next game on the board, Fresno State, Kansas, 14.5 to 14. And then Stanford, Hawaii, it's gone from +2.5 to -2.5 Hawaii. They're staying under that key number of 3. Even UNLV game, 30.5, 31. I mean, these are all key numbers today in college football. Would not be surprised, folks, to see one of these first 5 week 0 games land exactly on the closing line. Just shows the importance, once again, of shopping around for line value. The lines nowadays are sharper than they've ever been. Welcome to everybody in the live chat. By the way, if you have a specific game you'd like to ask about while we have Jesse for college football, especially week 0 here, or even a look-ahead game to next week, drop it in the chat. We got a lot of new viewers in here as well, new members. Danko Hawkins, Richard Adu, welcome. New members, and don't forget you can become a member here on WagerTalk TV as well. And of course, it's free to subscribe. Make sure you've done so. And also got some people in the chat. Annabelle Pepin asking, will Gianni be here? He is. He's waiting in the wings. He had to jump off, but he jumped right back in. We'll get to the Steam report here in about 5 minutes. Jesse, some other college football games, even looking ahead to week 1. You've got your Colorado jersey on. What's another game you'd like to talk about? I know the Buffaloes are on your radar.
Yeah, I got a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Colorado fans. Last couple years since Dion arrived in town, the Colorado has been an entertaining team. They've been a pretty good team. Unfortunately, some of their fans think they're like a bona fide national title contender every year. And I'm not sure that I believe that. I think they're going to take a step back this year, losing Shadur and Travis Hunter. I mean, maybe the two best players in the Big 12 last year. And Shadur dropping in the draft, I still think Shadur was a pretty awesome quarterback when you consider the offensive line he was playing behind and the fact that he was getting sacked that much. And he still, they still had success. He still threw for a ton of yards. Do I think they're going to miss Shadur and Travis Hunter? Absolutely. A lot of new pieces on that team. Dion missed time all summer and all camp with health problems, and prayers up for Dion. I hope he's going to be okay. But Georgia Tech is just a well-oiled machine. They're bringing back their starting quarterback. They're bringing back their leading rusher. It's year 3 under Brent Key. Remember the last time you probably saw this Georgia Tech team, they were taking Georgia to 8 overtimes in a marathon. Could you imagine Colorado taking Georgia to 8 in overtimes? I can't. This is a difference of magnitude here. Georgia Tech is the continuity, the coaching, they're ready to go. I don't think Colorado is going to be ready to go. So I feel pretty comfortable laying 4 points with Georgia Tech at Colorado.
Yeah, of course, we're talking about the Dublin game, which kicks off here in about 50 minutes. Georgia Tech played Florida State in that game last year, pulled the big upset. Obviously, Florida State was a very overrated team all year long. But they did.
That was my first video last year, Steve, and I gave out Georgia Tech on the money line. That's how I kicked off my first year of college football videos at WagerTalk TV.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll see once again if they carry that momentum into week 1 this year. Again, it's another big name program. A couple minutes left here with Jesse Schule. Of course, Jesse does a great job with the daily free play videos like he's talking about. He did all the week 0 games. Make sure you subscribe and click that bell as well here on WagerTalk TV. You'll know when Jesse posts free play videos throughout the week. I'll also have a ton of college and pro football videos this season, just like both of us did last year. There's some great free content here on WagerTalk TV on a daily basis all football season long. Also, some free preseason videos up for today. This is the last Saturday of NFL preseason action, and it's a huge Saturday. In fact, I've got all 3 NFL Network games free for you in a 3-for-1 triple play video here on the channel. So check that out right after this show for all 3 of your national TV games in the NFL here on Saturday on WagerTalk TV. And Jesse, on the way out, let me get your thoughts on another game looking ahead a little bit to week 1, Auburn-Baylor. What are you doing with this one?
I was a little shocked to see that Phil Steele has Baylor winning the Big 12. And I know I've heard him explain it. He says they've got a favorable schedule. Well, their schedule isn't favorable in week 1. Auburn, a bona fide contender in the SEC. Auburn didn't win a lot of games last year, but a lot of their losses were decided on the last play. They lost a lot of games in unfortunate circumstances. They might be one of the better teams with a losing record that you'll see. And they went out and they got Georgia Tech's wide receiver, Singleton. They've got one of the best wide receiving cores in the SEC. They've got a top-notch SEC offensive line. They got a lights-out defense. The problem with this Auburn team last year was Peyton Thorne at quarterback was absolutely dreadful. So they go out and get former 5-star recruit Jackson Arnold, who was equally as terrible at Oklahoma last year. But Oklahoma was a train wreck. I mean, they had an inexperienced offensive line. They're a decimated receiving core. Their offensive coordinator had his head up his you-know-what. So it was a chaotic situation, and he didn't look good. Does that mean you're going to see the same Jackson Arnold here at Auburn? Not necessarily. The guy that I just spoke about, Haynes King for Georgia Tech, if you guys remember him at Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher, he looked like a bust. He goes to Georgia Tech. He's a gamer these days. And if Jackson Arnold can be even mediocre, Auburn's going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. And I just don't see Baylor competing with that kind of talent. A lot of people are high on Baylor after they won 6 straight to end last season, but those wins came against lower tier Big 12 teams. I'm not impressed. I think Sawyer Robertson could suffer a bit of a sophomore jinx at quarterback for Baylor, and I'm just not as high on Baylor as a lot of people are.
It's Jesse Schule breaking down college football. He's been doing it all summer long. Tons of free play videos up already and more to come this season. And Jesse, you've got a 3-for-1 week 0 package. We talked a little bit about the games about to kick off, but I have a feeling your strongest plays have yet to come today in week 0. Tell us about that and what else you got going on at WagerTalk. Also a free play, everybody. Dodgers Padres. Jesse does baseball as well. Free play Dodgers Padres on your page also.
Yeah, well, the 3-for-1 week 0 package, actually, the most exciting part of that is probably the CFL play. I hit a 5% CFL last night. I'm hitting almost 80% for the season with CFL. Just been slaying the CFL for over a decade now. Number 1 at WagerTalk since I've arrived on the site. Number 1, obviously hitting 80%. I'd be number 1 this year. So the CFL with a week 0 pick in college football and a baseball play. So you could grab that on my page. But I want to answer Titan CT. Any thoughts on UNLV under? And I've seen there's been a lot of steam going on, money on the over. That one opened at 62.5. I saw a 67.5. And I'm just not sold that Dan Mullen's going to have that offense humming in week 0. No continuity on that team. It's a team full of new players, new roster. There could be a few hiccups, and 67.5 is a big number. I'm certainly leaning under in that game.
Sounds good. It's Jesse Schule, college football expert, Major League Baseball, CFL, 3 sports for one price. He's got a 3-for-1 Saturday special right now at WagerTalk.com. We've got Teddy Covers coming up in a little bit. He's going to break down football and baseball as well. Once again, any games you want to talk about for this Saturday, drop them in the live chat right now as you're watching here at 11 a.m. Eastern. Live on Saturdays, last call each and every weekend. We will keep this going through the football season. But normally do it at the top of the show. We buried it a little bit deeper here, but let's bring on Gianni the Greek for the Steam Report. And Gianni, it's a huge Saturday to say the least. I know you've been extra busy. Run with it here. We got the first college football game in about 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, brother. I've just been firing, man. That package that I have up for college football, just got 2 player prompts that I added to it for Kansas State game, and just got another added game total. We're just firing, man. Crushing so far these lines. Football's been good over the last 2 weeks. I think number 1 in preseason. So really, really excited for the college football season. Don't forget, check the free plays. There's a free plays pick page up. I've given the last 20 free plays I've given are 16, 3, and 1. They're premium plays that I'm giving the subscribers. I don't just throw out a free play. When I have a premium plays and I have some volume, I'll just click to add it to the free picks page. So it's something that's premium and sent to subscribers. But yeah, just really, really busy today. College football, Steve, preseason, WNBA and Major League Baseball. Baseball and WNBA is really light, but heavy on college football and preseason.
And Gianni, I'm looking at your free picks right now. You've got one in the Iowa State-Kansas State game. So I guess we can make people go to your page, or if you want to throw out some thoughts on that real quick, that goes in about 45 minutes.
I'm on the Kansas State side. Now, I know there's sharp money on both ends of this. Like they were looking for Iowa State at plus 3.5. But I got down on Kansas State early. I thought Kansas State's a little bit undervalued, where Iowa State was my overvalued team coming into the season. I talked about it before. They won 11 games for the first time ever in school history. I think they got a little bit lucky. They just don't have anyone really to throw the ball to yet, at least that I haven't seen on paper. I just think they're going to regress a little bit off of that. And I like Kansas State in this first spot. I also think there's going to be some points scored because that Kansas State offense, I think they're going to be able to score on Iowa State. And that defense for Kansas State's supposed to be improved, but I think they'll probably give up a couple points themselves. So take a look at the over. Also, that was sharp. Got bet over 51.5. That's why you're looking at 52s there. But there's also some public money on the over as well.
Yeah, I've been talking about key numbers with point spreads for the new viewers: 3, 7, 10. 51 is the most key total in this price range. There's probably a 2 to 3% chance it lands exactly on 51. And I did this game earlier this week on WagerTalk today, and I'm also with you. I like Kansas State in the over. Did a free play video, and I mentioned now that it's down to -3. I think there's some value with K-State. It's also a quick revenge spot. They played in late November last year. They lost at Iowa State, but they actually outgained them by a couple yards per play. They had a 2-0 turnover deficit. That was the difference in that game. Otherwise, Iowa State's not playing Arizona State in the Big 12 title game last year. And then the total was 48.5, 49 even this week when I did the video and did the show on Tuesday. As you said, it has crossed that key number of 51. It's now 51.5. So there's no question the sharpest money appears to be on the over in this early kickoff in about 40 minutes in Dublin, Ireland. Gianni, y'all also have a free play on the game tonight at 7:30 Eastern, Stanford, Hawaii. That's actually an early afternoon game in Hawaii. That'd be 1:30 Hawaiian time, but it's 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 your time. And this will be a heavily bet game. It's the latest game tonight. It's the bailout special at 7:30 Eastern instead of midnight Eastern like we normally see. Stanford opened a 2.5-point road favorite. Now they're a 2.5-point dog. And we do see money coming into Hawaii. I even see a bet online at -111 now. So I would say if you like Hawaii, you probably play -2.5 before it hits 3. Or do you play the money line here? What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I gave out, this was one of those bets that we placed earlier in the summer, like a month out. And I was on Hawaii. I released the subscribers, Hawaii money line at -115. So we got a good number. And when you bet from a position of strength, you have a lot of options. That's why I always urge bettors to pass when the number moves significantly, because you're ultimately betting from a position of weakness. You don't have much maneuvering that you can do. But when you get out ahead of the market, then you have all the power. Like right now, I have Hawaii money line -115. I can easily now take Stanford on the money line at plus money to limit my risk. I could take Stanford +2.5. I could wait and see if I could get Stanford +3. So when you bet early and you're able to get out ahead of the market, that leaves you a lot of opportunities if later information changes. And here's what I'm worried about the Hawaii a little bit, that I know multiple betting syndicates are on the Hawaii side. I see in the back end that we're getting one-sided Hawaii money from recreational bettors already on Hawaii. And yet we're not seeing that key number of 3 across the board. I saw a couple credit shops pop 3 and immediately it was bought up. Like they immediately took up the 3 on Stanford. That's what worries me a little bit. Again, we got a good number. We're going to get closing line value. And ultimately, that's the secret sauce to be profitable long-term. But on this particular game, that does worry me. Just following markets the way I do, I should be looking at 3 with Hawaii.
And Yanni, I talk a lot about bookmaking theory. I've always said, especially nowadays, that people are used to seeing, all these ridiculous lines, -118, -111, -1. It's like back in the day, everything was -110. It probably would have confused people to move it. But if I'm a sports book, especially in college or pro football, why would you ever move off at 2.5 now? Why not just make this -120, -125 instead of giving a +3, which is going to get one-sided, like you said? Why not make Stanford +2.5, +105, +110 if necessary to prevent getting sided in this game on that key number?
And that's exactly what I think some books will do that. Just not enough do, because they copy the board. They're not really back there thinking like you are next level. They're looking at the board and they see the sharper outs at 3. They're just going to paint their line 3 as well, even if they haven't booked a bet. But that is the approach they should take. And I remember back when I was a runner and we were burying them on totals so badly, on like NBA totals, college basketball totals. That's exactly what they did, because we started middling them. They were moving so significantly, they were becoming easy middles. So then what they started doing was, instead of adjusting MGM Mirage properties, they started adding VIG to the totals, if you remember that. So you'd look at an NBA game, 211 with the over minus 140, while everyone else had 215.5 as their total, because they just they got tired of getting middle. So as a bookmaker, I would take that exact approach, like you say, rather than get middled, do that. But I think that's the problem right now. There's too few books that have an opinion. Instead, they're just copying the screen.
Yeah, it's so funny you said MGM, because I was like, it was either Caesars or MGM that did that. Because I remember the screen, it was a black and gold book. It was one of the black and gold books. It was either Caesars or MGM, and it would just stand out because you would see a 2 or 3 point different NBA total.
Yes.
And then you dig deeper and you realize it's minus 140. I've always thought that's the smart way to do it. And even if you're not getting action and you move to 3, you're going to get one-sided, right?
Yep.
So you're still hurting yourself. Very interesting bookmaking theory 101 discussion here with Gianni the Greek. Any action in baseball, WNBA, any of the off sports today?
Yes, sir. I'll share that real quickly and real fast. What I was typing right here, I'll just give it to you guys now. It's an off-board added game, over 49.5 in Mercer UC Davis, over 50 Mercer UC Davis. The screen probably lit up. I was betting as that's where I was sideways going on. But
hey, Yanni, real quick on that. It opened 51.5. It's now 50.5 across the board. Here's what the sharp books are doing. South Point, 50.5 flat. Very public book. Pinnacle, 50.5 over minus 142 right now.
Whoa.
Bookmaker, 52 over minus 120.
Oh, my God. I swear to you, while I was typing it, that's why I was betting it. And we went over 49.5. And I even wrote the subscribers 50 because I was like, I saw like, this is going to 50 at least. But good Lord, man, those extra board games, that's why I like the Steam room for them, because it's actionable information. You know what I mean? Like, you got to bet it time-sensitive information that you kind of got to bet quickly. But I don't want to get out of here without giving you guys some more information real quickly. WNBA, one side got steamed. That was it. Was Atlanta, 608 Atlanta at minus 3.5. That moved significantly. MLB, only 2 bets that stuck out. There's a lot of manipulation, a lot of two-way action, but I try to narrow down as strong of confirmations as I can up until 8 a.m. Pacific time. And the 2 that stuck out was Atlanta at plus 110, and then the under 8.5 Colorado-Pittsburgh. So under 8.5 Colorado-Pittsburgh, 958 Atlanta plus 110. A couple of the NFL games, I don't have to tell you things like Miami 126. They were minus 3. Now they're whatever they are. Those you could see yourself, lines that were, plus 1 and then now minus 6, they got steamed. But here's a couple that are within like a half a point of where the line is now, that I think some may have a problem reading the board. 115 under 37.5 Indianapolis, Cincinnati. 117 all the way up to 38 over Denver, New Orleans. 120 under 37.5 Rams, Cleveland. 124 Green Bay minus 1 all the way to 2.5. 128 under 38 Buffalo, Tampa, and then Vegas from plus 1 to minus 1. So those are some of the later stuff that I saw later in the week.
Yeah, we have some.
WagerTalk today, we were giving out football throughout the entire week.
Yeah, a lot of early NFL preseason. I mean, the Ravens and not my Washington Commanders play here in about 30 minutes at noon Eastern, and we've seen some buyback just come in on the Commanders. It had gone from 2.5 to 3.5. Now they're back down to plus 3. That's probably a little bit of buyback on a key number there. And then you mentioned the Miami game. I did a triple play video for the 3 NFL Network games. And of the 3, I kind of like Miami the best. They were minus 6 yesterday when I did the video. They're now 6.5. They're going to play their starters for a good chunk of the first half. Jacksonville's sitting everyone. Joint practices this week. Apparently the aggressive Dolphin defense was wreaking havoc on the Jags. So I like the under 38.5, and that's up to 39.5 now. So I think there's a little bit of value with the under in that game also. The other game, the early game at 1 Eastern NFL Network, Cleveland Browns. They briefly opened as a 2.5 point favorite this week. They were 8.5 yesterday when I did the video. They're playing their guys the whole first half. The Rams aren't expected to do much. It's now minus 10, which might be the biggest preseason line I've seen in recent years. Do you remember? I mean, maybe we have seen a double-digit preseason line. Pretty crazy.
I don't remember that.
I don't either.
That. I really don't. Again, we've seen so many games, it's hard to remember, but I think I would remember a double-digit favorite in preseason. That's just unheard of. Even
it's hard.
This is what's
tricky.
They're taking it seriously, and the other wasn't taking it seriously. It was usually like a touchdown.
Right, and that's what's tricky here. Is like you can't make a case for the Rams. And McVay, by the way, has played all right this preseason, but coming in this year, he had one of the worst point spread records of any head coach in the preseason. It's also the Browns' only home game. They're 2-0 on the road, and this is their only home game, which I think is a sneaky angle going forward with this 3-week format, is that you can make an argument teams that only have the one home game probably put a little more effort into it. But yeah, very one-sided with Cleveland. At 8.5, I was like, not much value. They got to win by 10 or more. Now they got to win by like 14 or more probably, or at least 11 or more to have a chance. The other national TV game, by the way, at 4 Eastern is Green Bay, Seattle. Seahawks went from -1 to +3. Green Bay's a 3-point favorite. Seattle's sitting everybody, no starters. Milroe, the rookie from Alabama, is going to play the entire game at quarterback, so that might be fun to watch also today. But Gianni the Greek on the way out, find him at WagerTalk.com, and you can also get the Steam Room, and he is hustling today with the Steam Report. Check him out for more information on this page at WagerTalk.com. And Yanni's also on live every weekday at noon Eastern right here, Monday through Friday on Wager Talk TV on Wager Talk Today. So you get him at 11 a.m. Eastern here on Saturdays, noon Eastern live, Monday through Friday, doing the Steam Report, where he lets you know where the money's coming, where the syndicates are going, and how you should attack the board on a daily basis. All right, let's keep it rolling here. And speaking of the NFL preseason, let's bring in Teddy Covers. Teddy does as well as the NFL as anybody. His season wins report, of course, is still on his page. Not too late to get that, a couple weeks away from the start of the NFL. Teddy, we'll stick with the NFL while I've got you. We haven't talked a lot about it today. I'm sure you would remember better than any of us, but Cleveland's now 10 minus $1.20 at some spots. Looks like it might hit 10.5. That's about as big of a preseason favorite as I can remember seeing. What about you?
So I moved to Vegas in 1998, and I don't think I've ever seen a double-digit favorite.
Even double digits, because I don't remember either. That's why I was curious.
Nothing that comes to mind, and it's the kind of thing that you probably remember. But that said, we all know McVay doesn't care. All right, he doesn't even care a little bit. That being said, the Rams are they with 5-0 last 5?
Yeah, they've played well this year, that's for sure.
Last year was just as good.
Yeah.
Stetson Bennett's made people a whole lot of money. I got the numbers right here, and I know I can't find it. So give me one
and while you pull this up, too, I'll chime in. Everyone thinks, other than Harbaugh, McDermott was the second best preseason coach. He hasn't done much the last couple of years, just got embarrassed by Chicago on national TV Sunday night. Didn't care about that game. These coaches' trends, as you know, are such a small sample. Sometimes maybe there's just some random variance built in there. So 1 year is different than the next as well.
So when you find a coach that doesn't care, and there's one that stands out other than McVay, and that's Dan Quinn for Washington.
And previously Atlanta, right?
Raheem Morris doesn't care a whole lot either. Exactly.
No, but I was saying when Quinn was at Atlanta, that's when that all started, though. As
sure,
a head coach. Yeah.
But that hasn't changed in Washington.
Correct.
Raheem Morris hasn't cared a whole lot either with the Falcons. I'm going to date myself, but the original bet against. When
Marv
I
Levy.
went to Vegas, you bet against Marv Levy.
There we go. My man. Another William & Mary man. Dan Quinn and Marv Levy, both William & Mary coaches, so I know them well. McDermott, a William & Mary guy. How crazy is that?
That's odd. Maybe it's something about William & Mary.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen you really try hard for any preseason games.
No.
It's
yeah. So, it is true. I've got the Marv Levy mindset.
Marv Levy was the ultimate bet against in August. He didn't care at all. Dan Quinn follows in that. McVay follows in that as well. But what's happened in the betting marketplace now, number one, there's no buyback. That's why we're seeing lines get steamed to 10. Sometimes you'll see the buyback ad when it gets to 3.5, they'll buy it back to 3 and lock in across a key number. But for a lot of these games, there's just one-sided action, and when there's one-sided action, the lines go through the roof. But a lot of the bet-ons, and this is a key point. We have the Harbaugh is a good preseason coach. And McDermott's a good preseason coach. And then the quarterback rotations change, and the backup quarterback position isn't as good. And then all of a sudden, Harbaugh's not as much of a bet on, and McDermott's not as much of a bet on. So at this late stage of my NFL preseason handicapping career, I'm starting to think that the coaches matter less. The coaches or the bet on coach matters less than if the quarterback rotation works. if someone can come in, a third string can come in and run the offense, you'll get a team like the Giants this year that, not like the ball had any kind of reputation for covering point spreads or track record for covering point spreads in August. You get the right quarterback rotation. You got veterans going in the second half with something to prove against third and fourth string defenders. And all of a sudden you got a preseason juggernaut. So like all that success from the Bills came when they had great backups. Same thing with Baltimore. They had great backups and third string quarterbacks, veteran guys. And that's not necessarily the case in 2025, not this year.
I totally agree with you. I think if you really, I know you're big into quotes and whatnot. I mean, if you look at all these coaches, very few of them say we're coming out here trying to win. There might be guys that say we're sitting our starters or we're playing our starters. And also maybe if you're coming off a really bad showing or you're back at home, maybe they want to win a little bit more. But you're exactly right. These games are decided mostly in the second half with third stringers, and some of it's random variance. But when you have a Tommy DeVito going 17 for 20 like he did on Thursday night.
Look at Bagent last night.
Right.
Kansas City dominated Chicago in that ballgame, but not in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that's really what makes the difference. So Cleveland, once again, has a pretty good quarterback rotation, and they are playing their starters longer, but 10 is crazy. Does remind me, though, of that Patriot-Giant game the other night, because I did a video for that. New England was 6.5, and I said Giants have the edge, but, does New England, if they get to 7, are they worth a look? They got blown out by over 30 points. So we could see that happen again, but you're definitely laying a premium now. By the way, that line up to 10 minus $1.19 at Pinnacle, and it looks like it might hit a 10.5 here. History being made on the final NFL preseason Saturday this summer. Teddy, any other things in the NFL? We'll jump over to some college football, some baseball with you. Anything else jump out to you? It's a huge card today. A lot of these games start early.
Yeah, so, obviously that the Baltimore-Washington is interesting. I had a big bet against Baltimore last week. Going Harbaugh's preseason track record is not, from years past, is not the modern era. And then Dallas went out and laid a big egg.
Yeah, I was surprised. I did a video on that, Teddy. I thought Dallas, I kind of started liking Dallas as well at home with a rookie coach. Surprised by that as well.
Milton played much better yesterday. But, Baltimore is not a team I'm comfortable laying a field goal with in the preseason. And Washington's as bet against as it gets. So, but we're seeing money for Baltimore right now. Houston-Detroit's an interesting game. That's another one that starts here in, about 90 minutes.
Yep.
The joint practices. A lot of times when you have success, you dominated the joint practice session. You're the most physical team. That ends up hurting you for the game. The coach is like, all right, you guys have already proven everything. The other team that got embarrassed on the practice field comes in with a little bit of chip on their shoulder. The other coach whose team got embarrassed on the practice field says, I want to see my guys do something. So Detroit and Houston played a really tough practice the other day, a couple of them. And the reports coming out of those practices were, the defenses were really good. We've seen a lot of under money in that game so far, and a preseason that's been filled with overs. So I think that's telling us something as well.
Yeah, I love where you're going with that. It seems to me like a lot of these preseason games this year, there've been joint practices that week. And I mentioned that earlier when Gianni was on with the Jacksonville-Miami game. So that worries me a little bit about my Dolphins side, because I do lean Miami. They're going to play their starters. Jacksonville's sitting everybody. And the reports are that the Dolphins were pretty aggressive in those practices and gave the Jags some problems. And now the Jags backups are going to be in. I still like the under there, actually. That's gone from 38.5 up to 39.5. I thought there's a little bit of value. Your take on the totals here as we kind of round out on the NFL. We talked a couple weeks ago when you were on after week one about, what was it, a 14-2 start, the first Hall of Fame through week one on the overs. Your thoughts on over-unders going forward with this 3-week format the last couple weeks now?
So I talked about it right at the top of the NFL opening line report, and that's live, of course, every Monday. We go through the openers for the week, game by game, talk about what just happened, where the money we expect the money to move. It's must-watch TV. It's the best show I do. But live every Monday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. on the East Coast. But I talked about how the 14-2 to the overs in week one wasn't likely to continue. And I expected week two to be much closer to 50-50, and it was. Week two was, 8-7, and then there was one game that landed right in the middle. So it could have been 7-8, 8-7, whatever it was. It was not a scenario where the overs went nuts. And preseason total, I'm not going to say total, the preseason totals are random, but red zone efficiency is not something we tend to see in August. And the red zone efficiency this year has been surprisingly good. We've also seen in preseason, you see it every year. You're going to get, and I'll tell you what, you're going to see a handful of these week one where a non-offensive score makes a big difference, side or total. We've seen a ton of non-offensive scores in the preseason, whether it's a punt return touchdown, a kick return touchdown, interception return touchdown. We've seen all of them. We see a bunch of them in August. Those can be point spread killers. Those can be total killers when you have unders. It's hard to give in a league where the lines are tight, like they are in the NFL, like they are in all the leagues. But when all of a sudden you get a cheap non-offensive TD, it can put a crimp in your plans in a hurry. So be aware that the non-offensive touchdowns, the special teams, and the special teams setting up touchdowns, you'll see much more of that in August in week 1, week 2. In college football, you see it a bunch at the beginning and much less as the season progresses. That tends to help deflate some of the scoring. But you could see a fair bit of that early on.
Yeah, and NFL preseason winds down today. There are no more games after this Saturday. We got 10 of them, and then the NFL preseason is finite. Before we get to some baseball, we're going to talk Dodgers, Padres. If you have any other baseball games in the live chat, please drop them now. Teddy will get to them in a moment. Any thoughts here on week 0 college football? Obviously, a huge game kicking off in about 25 minutes, and a few other games on the board as well. Your UNLV Running Rebels, I believe, is one of them.
Yeah, so I've got one play up for the clients right now on my page, wg.buzz/TC. And there wasn't a whole lot else I was close with. I missed the move on Hawaii. All right. If I'd had Hawaii at any kind of plus price, I'd have been interested. Hawaii laying 2.5, I was no longer interested. So I didn't get there. So that was a lean, but the line got me out of there. As for UNLV is a really interesting team because, they lost a ton from the best. Last year was the best Rebels team I've seen in my time in Las Vegas. Again, I moved here in '98, and last year's team was that good. And then obviously new head coach, a bunch of transfers coming in, lots of questions about the Rebels. Now they're laying 30 in the opener against SDS Idaho State. The reports I'm reading, yes, the continuity isn't necessarily there, but the talent is still there. Mullen hit the transfer portal pretty hard. And there's a chance this Rebels team may be every bit as good, if not better, than last year's squad. I'm not looking to step in front of them. I'm really not.
Yeah, it's been pretty one-sided. That opened as low as 24.5, 25. It's up to 30.5 now, 31. And then we've also seen money coming on the total, 64.5 up to 66. Juiced over now at some of the sharper books.
And it definitely, like, the reason you're going to see bigger moves on extra board games and added board games, the limits are lower and there's no take back. You see the lines start to go and they go. When you talk about regular games, it takes a lot more to move the number and there's a much bigger marketplace. In the added board, extra game marketplace, there's not a whole lot of variance.
Right, and it's what we see in the NFL preseason. It's a softer market. It's a thinner market. The volume is less. The limits are lower. So it's the added board today is the equivalent of the NFL preseason, basically. What we're getting the same thing with the line moves there. Titan CT, one of our loyal, longtime viewers on the way out here real quick, is asking if you see anything in that Seattle Green Bay game or tonight's game, Chargers, Niners. I touched on the Packers earlier. They're a 3-point favorite. Seattle's sitting all their starters. And Milroe, the third-round draft pick out of Alabama, will play the entire game. But he's a mobile quarterback, Teddy, and this is something you and I have talked about over the years. They can wreak havoc in the second half as well. I kind of lean Green Bay, but that gives me some concern in that one. Let me know if you see anything Chargers, Niners as well.
Yeah, and it's like the Packers are saying, well, we're bet on this week. Not if there's anything positive about Green Bay. The market's moved. The market's knee-jerked. Oh, Seattle sitting starters. Milroe's going the whole way. Boom. Let's make Green Bay 3. But for me to lay more than 2 in a preseason game is one of my rules for August. I need bet on and bet against, and I don't have bet on for Green Bay. I really don't. When it comes to the Chargers, Niners, the Niners have had a bad August, all right, injury-wise. I don't know that I've read that there's another team that's more banged up already. And this is a team whose last year was an injury-riddled disaster. The injury bug hasn't gone away for San Fran. That's why the Chargers are lane. Because it's not like the Chargers have this great QB rotation. It's not like Harbaugh cares all that much about this win or loss. But San Fran has been in a world of hurt injury wise, and they're not playing anybody that's front line. That's why not a game I got involved, not a game I was close to getting involved. We've seen under money in that game, and I wouldn't disagree conceptually.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, a lot of the coaches are not playing guys today, and they're trying to figure out their third string roster spots for the final cuts. So there's a lot of randomness here. This is truly the final week of the preseason, the final day, for good reason. Annabelle Pepin, yeah, what's that?
I said I only bet one today.
Gotcha.
I got one for the clients, and I put it out last night thinking the line was going to move one way, and the line moved the other way this morning. So I actually got a little bit the worst of the number.
Good. So we still value with that. So Teddy's got an NFL preseason and a week 0 college football best bet, both at WagerTalk.com. Annabelle Pepin's like, Steve, please don't leave out MLB predictions. We're not, Annabelle. We're finishing off the show here with some MLB. Let's talk Dodgers Padres, Teddy. We talked about these teams a few weeks ago when I last saw you. Yankees have been in a roll for several months to the negative. Everyone's waiting for them to kind of turn things around. If they do, maybe not. But the Dodgers still just 5-5 their last 10. They've been a very mediocre team over the past month. What is your take on this one, Dodgers Padres?
So handicappers are not politicians, flat out. I've been pumping up the Dodgers. We can flip-flop, and there are times we're supposed to flip-flop. You're a politician, you flip-flop, they yell at you. If you're a handicapper, you flip-flop, you're flip-flopping based on current info, and you don't like to flip-flop and be wrong. But this slump for the Dodgers is not a short-term thing now. It's been a couple of months. And when you look at the fundamental structural issues with the team with the highest payroll in baseball, you don't expect to see those. And they're all over the place for the Dodgers. All right. Lineup is top heavy. All right. The bottom half of the order isn't doing anything right now. And of course, that has a lot to do with some of the injury problems that they've had. Certainly Max Muncy being hurt as matters. It's not like, Enrique Hernandez is hurt and Tommy Edmonds hurt and Kim is hurt and Betts isn't hitting particularly well. So the lineup, you got Freeman and Ohtani, and then, another issue for the Dodgers that is ongoing. Again, we look at their bullpen, and, Tanner Scott's on the IL, and Kirby Yates is on the IL, and Michael Kopech is on the IL, and Brock Stewart's on the IL. And the late innings have been a problem for Dave Roberts and company. So the Dodgers certainly have a starting pitching edge today. Glasnow, since coming off the IL, he's been good. The guy's ace level. And Cortez is not. Cortez faced this team last week and gave up 3 first-inning home runs. And then he pitched okay after that. But from a starting pitching standpoint, I understand why the Dodgers are favored. But Padres have gotten great production from, the trade. The guys that got the trade deadline, or Laureano and O'Hearn and Furman, are all hitting. All right. The pitchers and the bullpen that they were able to put together. This is the best bullpen in baseball right now. And that matters in tight games, in late innings, which is exactly what we expect this game to be. So, last night's game, 1-run decision. 2 of the 3 games last weekend, 1-run decision. Dodgers swept San Diego last week. I wouldn't be surprised if the Padres get the second of a potential sweep when an underdog price tonight. At San Diego or pass for this better. I've been pumping the Dodgers all year. I'm concerned about the Dodgers. This is not short term anymore. This is longer term for the Dodgers. It's been months that they've played subpar baseball, and Padres are certainly trending in the right direction.
Yes, that's probably the biggest National League matchup today on Saturday. The biggest one in the American League is Red Sox-Yankees. We got Brian Jordan and also Tessie Betts both asking about that game. And boy, does this transition nicely to that one, right? Because the Yankees are the American League version of the Dodgers. Fast start, below 500 over the past month also. So I'm very curious your take not only this game, but the Yankees as well going forward.
Yeah, I was debating yesterday, side total. Red Sox and Yankees ended up taking the total over in a 1-0 game. Oops. Instead of the side at the nice plus price for Boston. Should have played them both, I guess. Or should have only played the one or whatever. I was really surprised at how well Bob. But when you have 2 pitchers who hadn't been pitching well, who once they started mowing down batters, it was all of a sudden ace against ace in a playoff atmosphere. And once about the 4th inning was nothing, I'm like, this is pretty well dead, and it was obviously. That being said, you got Cratchit on the mound. I've heard call him Crotchet. It's just a better name. And Warren's pitched well at home. All right. And certainly, but right now, I think the Red Sox are the better team right now. So I can only look at the Boston side. They've already won the first 2 in this series. And I know the Yankees are supposed to bounce back today. It's Boston or pass for me.
What jumps out to me about both the Yankees and the Dodgers, Yankees 10 games above 500 still for the season. They're 2 games below against winning teams. You look at the Dodgers overall this season, the Dodgers are now 17 games up over 500. They're 29-29 against winning teams. So, that's something else that jumps out to me a little bit. Part of the reason they might not be the real deal come postseason. What was LA, 2-1 at a lot of spots when the season began? Could tie your money up for like 9 months to get a 2-1 return if they win the whole thing. Just shows why you can't make those type of future bets. Teddy, anything else catch your eye or just big picture? I mean, who do you think are some play on teams maybe going into September? And let bettors know how you attack baseball over this final month and a half of the regular season, at least. I've always said that, I take a little bit of a contrarian approach in September. Some teams that are really out of the race, they don't just toss the towel. Start calling up young guys who are making a really hard effort, to try to make the roster next year. It's a different type of handicap coming up.
Yeah, September's about current form. Really from here, once you get the call, but even now, you'll find elite teams that are not playing great baseball. And what I love, if ever there's a month to ride streaks, again, football sucks all the oxygen out of the baseball betting marketplace. All right. So if you're paying attention to MLB and riding some of these streaks, you find teams go on slumps when they're favorites every day, and you find teams go on winning streaks when they're dogs every day. And if you're paying attention, you can make money. I like September baseball. I know that there's a ton of other stuff going on, and it often gets overlooked. But I found late season MLB can sometimes be a real profit center for my clients and I. And I'm hoping this year will be more of the same.
I think it makes a lot of sense because, streaks later in the year make sense as well because the betting market are still setting everything based on 130, 140 games.
They're not
Dodgers and Yankees, a perfect example, right? Yeah. Like if you'd say, hey, look, New York is 3-4 games below 500 the last month. You're like, they're a mediocre team. But then you see they're up 10 for the season still. The Dodgers are 17 above 500. They've been a below 500 team over the past month or so. So I think that's another reason it works. It makes a lot of sense. And then also, be careful with teams, that are perennial good, that are out of the race maybe, and they start to have a little bit of a losing streak in September. They might toss the towel. So that's why momentum makes a lot of sense, good and bad, in the month of September. And Teddy is a very good late season baseball capper. Last year, I think I was 57-28 to finish the past final few months of baseball. So
nice.
I'm with you. Baseball is you kind of, one play a day, boom, boom. We find those spots in the month of September and into the playoffs. Just because football's here doesn't mean baseball isn't very profitable as well. Teddy, you've got your season wins report still up. You've got a fantastic special. Tell us about it. What is it? All of 2025 for 777 lucky sevens.
Sure. And the season win report, part 1 came out in July. Part 2 comes out this coming Wednesday, noon Pacific time. So we're going to have at least one additional release, potentially 2, but we're definitely going to have 1 and potentially a second one. But you can get the entire package right now on my page, www.buzz.com/TC. The best value right now is clearly the 777. Look, if you guys want to partner up, I understand. Buying picks is not for everyone. I get it. But for some people, it's a very reasonable and potentially profitable thing to consider. And if you guys want to partner up this football season, me and you, all right, we're talking MLB, every play, every day through the end of the World Series. We're talking NBA, every play, every day. College hoops, every play, every day. College football, every play, every day. And of course, the NFL is the betting king. This is all 5% big tickets included. There's nothing more to buy. There's no bait and switch nonsense. $777. It's a commitment, but I expect to make money. Check it out. WT.buzz/TC. And let's partner up for the next couple of months and see what.
Yeah, that's almost an instant 50% discount on what it normally costs to get the rest of 2025 from Teddy. Just $777 for the next 4+ months. Fantastic offer, every play, every day. From a veteran handicapper like me, started back in the 1990s. Been doing this 4 decades. That sounds even more impressive. Makes it sound even older. That's Teddy Covers. And don't forget, opening line report, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, live Monday. I want to check it out here on Wager Talk TV, right, Teddy? It's a must-watch.
Yeah, I just want to say this Monday is the only show between now and Super Bowl where we're not going to go through every game on the board because there's no games this coming week. So I'm going to do 8 divisional previews. Bang, 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 rapid fire,
Gotcha.
and then answer all your questions. So please join us live on Monday.
And once again, he takes live questions. That's yet another reason to watch these shows live whenever possible, because if you ask a question, we will try to answer it. But, hey, if you're catching us on the replay, opening line report is archived 24/7 afterwards. Last call, Wager Talk today as well. And you also can comment below because we do truly read the comments and reply back here on Wager Talk TV. Teddy, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern on opening line report here on Wager Talk TV. Hey, that'll do it. Nice show today. Jesse Schule, Gianni the Greek, Teddy Covers. I'm once again Steve Merril, filling in for Ariel Epstein. She'll be back next week, I believe, or Kelly Stewart will be here as the football season approaches. Week 0 is here. Week 1 next week with Labor Day weekend, and then the NFL regular season the week after that. Don't forget, we also have another special offer going this weekend right now. It's not too late to get the rest of August for free when you sign up for September. By September, you get the rest of August for free, and you can use that on multiple cappers. There is no promo code required. Every day you get on board sooner is an extra day of August you're going to get for free. All sports, all access. You know you want September. College football, pro football, Major League Baseball. Why not buy it now and get the rest of August for free? It's on my page as well, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And you get to my page quicker, by the way, wt.buzz/SM. And I do post a free play each and every day. Last cut for my best bet card goes up as a free play. They're hitting over 60% over the past month. Check out Saturday's free play. And also my 3-for-1 NFL preseason video. There's a link to that on my page right now, so you don't have to go search for it on YouTube. Go to my page and get all 3 NFL Network games broken down for free here for Saturday NFL preseason as well. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Comment below, thumbs up, like, subscribe, and click that bell, and we'll talk to you again soon. You know there's free play videos coming up each and every day right here, right now on Wager Talk TV. Good luck this weekend.